Welcome back to Straight Facts on Friday. Loads to talk about today. The Premier League key incident panel have concluded that Liverpool were robbed by the PGMOL in their game against Manchester City. We're delving into that in more detail. We're looking at Arsenal, and we have a massive claim from one of our viewers and one of our panelists in relation to Arsenal's season ahead. We're looking back at England's game last night and the interesting commentary and sort of punditry afterwards. Plus, Baleba to Man United. It's reported that that deal has moved closer to completion. We also have some brilliant hot takes to go through on the show today as well, just like Wednesday's Straight Facts. And they're from you guys. So if you've gone onto our homepage and you've written in your hot takes, maybe they're featuring on this show. We've got a brilliant panel for you today. Don didn't want to come. He's going to tell you because he's in Paris, right? But no, he's not in Paris. It's because Saka played well last night and he can't take the smoke. That's a joke. That's a joke, right? I just want to preface that because the world's full of weirdos. Staffy, I don't know. He said he's cooked. I don't know what that means. He's cooked, tired probably. So he's not coming on the show either. We've got a brilliant panel for you. We've got, of course, KJ, Football Terrace royalty in the house. And David is here with us, brand new to the football. Not brand new, been here a while now, building up his rep on the platform. How are you both, gents? You both well and good?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I know I need a title, Terry. I think it should be General KJ. If you're the king, you know, we watch like old time films, you know what I mean? Back in medieval times, Game of Thrones. If you're the king, I'm the first commander, the general, the leader of the
Maximus Meridius. Maximus Meridius, mate.
Come on, you know what I mean?
Maximus KJ.
I was going to say something, and then I paused in my head. I was going to be like Terry's hand, and I was like, no, pause.
Hold up.
That's Game of Thrones. Isn't that the person who's next in
command? Hand of the king, yeah, but like
hand of the king.
The whole thing.
Yeah, well, no, General KJ. I like it. General KJ. General KJ. Yeah. Okay, we can do that. We can do that.
Prince KJ, good, man. I'm still recovering from Tuesday, to be honest. I'm still having a back and forth with Positive Dan about Arsenal being the best squad in the world. I mean, I can't believe it. David, still from Tuesday.
Yeah, this week has been for everyone just mad energy, like this whole week.
Booming, you know? Emotions flying.
It's been a crazy week. It's been a crazy week across social media, in my opinion. But, you know, I think sometimes having these conversations and discussions is really good, clearing the air and everything else. And it's great to talk about football. Calm down, Terry, Aya says here. I just was thinking, I did say I said it in my head and then said pause.
Pause.
Yeah. Niaz, thank you very much for reposting this. If you are watching over on X, by the way, please repost it and hit the like, but you can click on the YouTube link and come and join us with the community in the live chat for this show today. But as I say, gents, loads to go through, but I wanted to start off with the breaking news that came out just before we went live on the show, which I think it's important not to ignore this just because it's the international break. But the Times has reported that Van Dijk's goal versus Liverpool, Van Dijk's goal for Liverpool against Man City on Sunday, which would have tied the score at 1-1, should have stood. That is according to the Premier League's key incident panel. What's intriguing about this, every body, as in every governing body, outside of the PGMOL, every referee that doesn't have an association with the PGMOL anymore, so isn't an ambassador, isn't a kind of director, isn't involved, have all said the same thing, that they went against protocol, that it goes against essentially all the precedents set in the previous 3 to 4 years, and the goal should have stood. This is at the same time as an email that has been sent from an ex-Premier League assistant referee saying that they don't understand what Michael Oliver did in VAR, that it's very dubious, and they've just stopped shy of saying they think he's cheating. This is a lot of ex-referees basically saying, based on the precedent set and the law of the game and how ducking out the way of a ball has never been considered a deliberate action, to just give it in that way, they have just said that it just goes against even their gut feeling isn't mistake. Their gut feeling is this feels weird, it feels off. But it's another independent panel now saying that the goal just should not have stood. Thoughts on that, gentlemen? Because there was a lot of conversation amongst fans, but you know, all the official bodies are now saying exactly the same thing.
And KJ, I'll let you go, mate. Oh, okay. I mean, I know you've gone through this enough times over the week on whether that goal should have stood or not. And I've given you my view, but I'll briefly go through it so people know where I stand with it. I know in the rules, that's not a deliberate action. That's the rules. And you're right. That's what we should go by, right? The rules are the rules. We can't be going away from that. But I kind of agree that it was disallowed because I feel like, I think it was Hussam that said, if no one, it might have been Hussam, maybe I'm misquoting someone else, may have been Staffy, I don't know. If no one else was on the pitch, the goalkeeper wouldn't have saved them, right? I believe he would have. Even if it was just Van Dijk and the keeper on the pitch, Donnarumma, I believe he would have saved it. So, in my opinion, Robertson being there distracts the keeper for that millisecond. This is Premier League level, man. This is elite level. I believe him bending over, whatever he did, right? Distracted Donnarumma enough for him to hesitate and not make that save. That's my opinion on it. However, like you say, if that's not in the rules where bending over to avoid the ball is not breaking the rules and not interfering with play, then you're right. The goal should have stood, but I can see why it didn't, mate. I can see why it didn't. My question to you is this. Do you think that rule will be implemented? Do you think that rule will change?
Well, look, again, if they change the rule, if they now say that a player standing in an offside position, if they have any movement that we believe distracts the goalkeeper or distracts any other player, if that becomes the law, then that's fine. My issue is it's forget interpretation, David. It's not written in the law. So there is no law and that's why every ex-referee, Mark Halsey, Keith Hackett, the expert panel, 95% of the television pundits and ex-pros, and that's why I've said on my streams, and I never meant this as a disrespect to you or any of our viewers. I don't personally care about anybody's opinion on this. I care about were the rules implemented, because there's subjectivity within the rules, but there isn't any rule that says you have to make a decision as to whether the goalie was distracted or not. So therefore, it can't be in your train of thought, and we know that because there's multiple incidents, and we've done videos where we've detailed this, where Howard Webb has confirmed it year in, year out, that it's not about distractions, but this time round they've used it as a justification. And that's why people are taken up. That's why, you remember me on Sunday, I was sitting there going, I know I've heard them say that that's not offside before. And it felt like, when you go out and you think you might have left the iron on, or you might have left the oven on, there's something in the back of my mind, and they have done. And for me, this is just another case in a litany of not just bad decisions and breakings of protocol. This is actually essentially adding a layer to a decision that's not even written in the rules, which this is why there's ex-referees going, this doesn't even feel like a mistake, because it's not a mistake if you add something in that doesn't exist. Do you know what I mean? It's like, imagine I set KJ a target for the year. KJ's got to do these 3 things. And then on bonus day, I go, but you didn't achieve X. But that wasn't in my targets all year. Yeah, but today I've added it in, so I don't have to give you a bonus. The world would go mad at me, right? So how can referees add something into the rules that it's not there?
You know what? You know who I blame for all of this? I blame Michael Massey from F1. Because ever since 2021, and he robbed Lewis Hamilton of his World Championship by making up some random rules on the biggest stage in F1, one of the greatest races that we probably would have had. He made up rules and he got away with it. Ever since Michael Massey did that foolishness, everyone will be at it. Now you got the PGM as well, making rules up on the spot because they can get away with it. Here's my take on it. It's a frustrating one because, like, offside used to be so simple. It used to be the most simplest rule in the world. If you're behind the last defender, boom, you're offside. Deliberate play, whatever. Then they added in interfering with play. So then, okay, cool. You had 2 simple kind of interpretations. Now they've got all these different things going on, goalkeeper's eye line and all of these things. And it's just getting to a point where it's like, can we kind of take a step back? Can we make the game a little bit more simpler to officiate? And then maybe we might see less mistakes. Or if there is kind of controversial decisions, people can kind of accept it more. Because it's kind of like, all right, cool. Well, it says this, fair enough. But now you got all these subcontexts and all these little things added on. It's frustrating. I remember there's 2 United incidents I remember to do with offside. One was against Everton. Both of them actually against Everton, ironically. One of them was away from home, and I think in the Premier League. The ball was going towards the goal, like pretty normally, average speed. Sigurdsson was sitting down injured. And then he moved his legs. Yep. And then obviously, because De Gea's like, what the hell? Like, I can see the ball, where it's going to go. And then he's just done that. They ruled it offside. So I get it. You know what I mean? No, I absolutely.
But David, that's the example that stands out, and I forgot about it when I was doing my match reaction the other day, and it came back to mind. At the time, I said, no, I was doing a watch along that day with Adam Charles and Sonny. Remember Arsenal Sonny, bald head, always wore a vest. In this room, in this room, we did it, and I went, of course, it's offside because he's moved. If he didn't move out the way of the ball, it would have hit him and not gone in, and he was in an offside position. Therefore, he's activated in play. So I agreed with the decision in real time. Then the apology came out saying, no, it shouldn't have stood because moving up the way of the ball doesn't count. And that's why it doesn't matter if David De Gea didn't dive for it or couldn't dive for it. It doesn't matter that some people interpret it as, well, if you move out the way of the ball, of course, you're deliberately playing the ball because it would have hit you otherwise. And they've always said no to it, which is why I've seen too many examples of it going the other way.
Can I ask a question, Terry?
Yeah, of course you can, mate. Go on, bro. Go on, mate. Go on.
Let's say that was a shot rather than a header, but Robertson was standing in the same place. So it goes into the goal the same way, but it was a shot rather than a header. And instead of Robertson ducking, he lets it go through his legs. Right?
So maybe
I don't know, the rules too tough because they're always changing. But you tell me, does that make it different?
No. So this has actually happened in the Premier League as well. And this is one of the examples we gave the other day. I'm going to show you an image, which is absolutely brilliant that you brought that example up, because let me find here we go. So I've got the screenshot with it as well. Let me just remove that comment so it can be seen clearer by everybody. So this was a Kanji. So this is a Kanji jumping out the way and letting it go through his legs, exactly how you mentioned.
Okay,
offside
same
position.
sort of thing.
Exactly the same thing. This is what VAR said, and Howard Webb backed it. So the keeper sees it. It makes no difference. So we're happy. Check complete. What they said, obviously I can't play the footage, but what they said in that moment is he was moving out the way of the ball. The goalkeeper can see the line of the ball. They didn't care that the movement of a Kanji might distract him or make him think the ball's going to go in the other direction.
This was given a goal. This was given a goal.
It was given as a goal, and Howard Webb backed it. Last season, when David Silva was physically leaning against the goalie before the corner was taken, the corner gets kicked, so he's not offside, obviously, because of the corner kick. He then stands in front of the goalie, and as John Stones heads it, he moves from his eye line out the way and ducks down out the way. Goalie's obviously distracted, but because it isn't an attempt to play the ball and he doesn't touch the goalkeeper, it was given. And this is why a lot of people are angry. Forget that it's gone against Liverpool and it's gone for Man City. That's almost irrelevant to me. It's the not following of, one, the law, but also the interpretation has always been defended in the other direction. And then they make a mistake. And the comment I put up a moment ago, if I can find that comment again, if I can't, it basically said, it's so funny that this has come out. Here it is from Lau, who says it's even funnier. The report came out after Howard Webb did the whole mental gymnastics on TV. And this is it. He did the whole, but he said what you said on TV, but only for the first time. Whenever previously they were challenged with, what if it's distracting? They said that's not in the law. Now they on this video with Howard Webb, they go, it can be distracting for the goalkeeper. That's the element that has pissed a lot of people off, because, and that's why the independent panel have had to rule the way they have. They look so stupid.
And on that distracting point as well, because it's interesting, because the second point I was going to make, or the second example, was against Everton in the Carabao Cup. Connor Cody, like, Everton are attacking. I think it's more of a set piece situation. Connor Cody's in an offside position. The ball gets lofted over our defense. Rafael Varane goes to head the ball because he sees a player behind him, right? He heads the ball down. It doesn't get cleared properly. And then next thing you know, Everton end up scoring. And it was actually Connor Cody ends up scoring as well, who's come back off from offside position. But it's one of those ones, but if Cody wasn't offside in the first place and distracted Varane, that whole situation wouldn't happen. So this is the thing.
So are you asking, Terry, if we think something, are you asking us if we think something dodgy is going on? in regards to Liverpool? Is that what you're asking us?
No, I don't think anything is dodgy going on towards Liverpool or helping Man City or against Arsenal. I believe there can be, if you want to call this corruption, could there be a referee who puts bets on certain games? Yes. Why? Because it happens in other countries. Why would it not happen here? Could referees have grudges against certain teams individually? Yes, because loads of ex-referees talk about having grudges against teams, managers, and the crowds. I think Graham Poll very famously said on the overlap, there were times where a crowd would give him stick and it'd hold it against him in the next game. So do I believe that exists? Yes. Do I believe the PG MOL get together to go, we've got to do our best to make City win the league? Absolutely not. I don't believe it's that widespread. What's really interesting though about this report, the next layer is, so they agree that it shouldn't have been flagged offside. But what they've also said is that that VAR was right not to get involved. And that for me is the most interesting element, because this is where I think,
right?
Well, this is what a debate needs to be happened on, is what is and is not a clear and obvious error. I think they need to set a threshold for it, because for me, this is it. If it should not have even been flagged, shouldn't have been offside, shouldn't have raised a flag one bit, how can you say VAR shouldn't get involved? Because if you're telling me, forget any decision. If any decision is one, it should not have been a goal, and the goal was given. If it should have been a goal and it wasn't given, then VAR should definitely get involved. I don't understand what the justification would be. The problem we have in this is that, and this is where I'll defend Man City a little bit, people start attacking the club that benefited, and this is why we're never going to fix this problem. People start attacking the team that's benefited from the decision and making it sound like they're paying refs or they're corrupt. And what you then get is, this is also why I won't call it outright corruption, because then what you'll get is everyone closing rank, closing house, and not sharing anything. What you're better off calling it is incompetence, or trying to understand their processes better, and essentially worm your way in to be able to see what's going on behind the scenes that way. I think calling it out as corruption, people are going to shut up shop straight away and defend themselves. But yeah, it's weird. I don't understand. This is the passage here. The Premier League's expert panel has ruled that Van Dijk's goal should not have been flagged as offside when he scored the disallowed equaliser against Liverpool, but the panel of former players, coaches, and refs backed VAR's Michael Oliver's call not to intervene. That bit is mad.
Yeah, that's where frustration will come, because it feels like VAR are checking things to rule out goals. It's like they want to rule out goals, but they don't do it consistently enough. Like, one time you'll see a goal happen and you're like, okay, VAR should check that, not getting involved. And you're like, okay, why? Or a penalty incident, you say VAR should check it. VAR's not checking it. But then another one, which you might feel is a bit weaker than the original challenge, gets checked. And you're kind of like, it doesn't make sense. So they need to find a way to make sure.
Yeah, and this is what I would do. So this is what I'd love to sit on this panel as a fan and go, okay, guys. So, and the example that comes to the head was quite a while ago, but if I had time to actually prep this, we're not doing this off the cuff, but I don't know what you guys are going to say, and it leads to new branches of conversation. So there's this element of, like, you're saying there's no real major error made. I remember when Man United scored away against Spurs, brilliantly worked team goal, and they brought it back because Scott McTominay's arm was being pulled. So McTominay was being fouled by Son. Son flicked him off and caught, not his eye, caught his face like this with his hand. And they brought it back and ruled the goal offside. Now, for me, they need to define what they mean by clear and obvious error. I liked VAR when it first came in all those years ago, because what they defined as a clear and obvious error was, did we miss something that we would have given as a foul? So, for instance, I remember we got a penalty away at Newcastle, Man United, and it looked like the Newcastle player won the ball. But what you actually saw is he studied Rashford on the shins, but in real time, you couldn't see it. Bang, brought it back for a penalty. They're barely giving things like that anymore. I liked it because their interpretation was, if we miss something, that's a clear and obvious error. The error is we didn't see it. Now it's all over the place. Now sometimes we've all seen this. We've all done this. Forget the actual incident. We've all done this. We do it every weekend. You'll see the replay and go, oh, he's getting sent off for that. Or we go, oh, that's going to be given. And then they don't intervene. We go, hang on a minute. How have you not? And there's too much. It's too open to interpretation for what a clear and obvious error is.
Like,
I think
Go on, David. No, you go first, bro.
I think we got to be careful what we expect from this. How old is VAR since it came in the Premier League? You guys know?
18, 19?
Yeah, it's about 7 years old, something like 7, 8 years old. Yeah.
Would you agree, guys, that that's quite young in the game?
In the long term, yeah, you can argue.
I would say that's quite young in the game, right? So the point I'm trying to make, let me finish what I was going to say here. Human error is still a big part of it, right? Because humans still control it, yeah? And that is just going to be there. We're not going to get all deep and turn the world into the Matrix and AI is going to take over. But the truth is, human error is human error, right? And the truth is, 7 years is not that long. And in the strive for perfection, you're going to make errors. You're going to overthink things. And that's where I feel VAR is at right now. They're striving to get it perfect, spot on. Exactly what this super chat is saying. I just want consistency. I want it to be spot on. They're striving to do that. And in that search for perfection, I feel like they're making errors. But what would you say is enough time for VAR to be established in the game to say, come on, guys, you've been doing this long enough now. There shouldn't be this many mistakes. How long would you say that is?
For me personally, I think 7 is fine. I know it's young, but the reason why I say 7 is enough time is because it's not like football is the first sport to have this kind of technology and processes. There's so many examples in sport that you could take off. And yeah, in the first few years, it'll be different.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I'd be interested to see in that sport, in those sports, did they make errors in the first 7 years? Yeah, I'm sure they did.
That's a fair argument. They probably did. But then I also would argue, then we go to the World Cup, the Euros, the different leagues around Europe. They also implement it better as well. So I'm also like,
you've been called out here, David, by Rob. He says the guy who criticised Arteta for not winning the trophy in 5 years, but this 7 years of incompetence isn't that long.
Sorry, Rob. I'll aim to be a bit more consistent, mate.
But I don't think what helps him as well, though. Yeah, sorry, finish your point. Sorry, KJ. Sorry.
But then you've got different areas of football within the same time frame who've got it. Not say spot on, obviously it's not perfect, but it's still better than the Premier League. It just feels like the way the Premier League want to implement it, they have to be so different and so unique to everyone else around Europe, around the world, and the international competitions that they're just messing it up. Like during the World Cup in Qatar and during the Euros, VAR was there. No one was complaining. Everyone was calm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just the way we do over here.
I don't think I loved VAR until Howard Webb took over. And I liked it. I used to, my tweets are still out there from people. And one day people go, how can you call it out now and didn't before? Well, that's why you got to look for the moment. They were overturning mistakes. And then he came in and it went into this realm of, we're not here to re-referee the games. And I went, no, that's exactly what VAR should be used for. But in real time, no, that's not a penalty. You look at it and go, well, it is. And then you change it. Now it's like, it's got to be, we're going to try and go with the on. I know that they tried to go with the on, and I know why the panel has decided that VAR shouldn't have got involved. And this is the one thing that I do suppose is fair to a certain degree. They try to stick with the on-field decision, the referee's call, as they call it. And the linesman and the referee have made a call, and they didn't feel the mistake was a big enough error. That's where I disagree even with this panel. I look at it and go, well, of course it was a big enough error. You've said the goal should have absolutely stood. And they haven't released enough information. They don't really release the conversation. What I would then want to see is, did you discuss the things that Howard Webb said on Mic'd Up versus these 5, 6, and this is what you never get on Sky when they're interviewing these guys, is I'd be sitting there, bit of paper, and I'd be they've got all the footage, they can show it all. I'd be replaying every incident that's gone the other way and go, now explain to us why they're different. I guarantee this is the answer you get. And that's my issue with it. If you can't explain something in simple terms to make us understand why they're different, that tells me it's a mistake. That tells me, like, if I do something different with one employee to another and someone calls me out onto why, I know I'm acting with integrity. I'll be able to explain. If it's something, I wouldn't say everything publicly. If it's a private matter, but this is something that has to be done publicly. If someone said, you've got to explain why KJ got the promotion and Johnny didn't. Johnny doesn't work here, by the way. It's hypothetical. I'll be able to tell people, KJ done this, KJ done the other, KJ does this. Johnny didn't do this. Johnny was bad at this. Johnny was late all the time. I'll be able to explain it, right? That's my issue with the PGMOL. They never are able to explain things. They have their kind of friends that go on TV and they go, so what, did you agree with what the referee gave? And this is the answer you get. Well, it doesn't matter if I agree or disagree. It was given, wasn't it? Well, no, you're there to give us an opinion. They don't want to give you opinions. That's the strangest bit.
Is a plan.
Dermot Gallagher is a madman.
Oh, yeah. Watching that is so funny.
Oh, it's crazy. By the way, thank you, Twisted Bubba, for becoming a TFT member. That means a great deal to us. Terry, the problem with calling it incompetence is that it happens for far too frequently and blatantly. But that's the problem with incompetence. So there is this. When I started working in the bank, when they were teaching us about working in the bank, right? There's a lot. It was like a job I'd never had before. Like I worked in a number of retail jobs, selling phones. I worked in River Island for a little while. I had a weekend job at Superdrug when I was a kid. It don't take long to learn how to use the tills, scanning the items, take money from people, and it doesn't take long to learn sort of the inventory of stock, if that makes sense. Yeah, the vitamins are down this aisle, the hair dye is down that aisle. Very quick. You can learn it in a couple of weeks. The bank was different. The products were complex. It took a long time to learn what you could and couldn't do. There's regulation, legalities, all these. It wasn't like a normal retail job, although you're in a retail setting because you're in the high street. And they had this square for your training. And it was when you first join a bank, you are consciously incompetent. You know what you don't know, as an example. Then you become the idea is that, you're incompetently incompetent. You don't know what you don't know. Then you become consciously incompetent because you're starting to realize, fucking hell, I don't know anything here, and it feels really weird. I'm a fish out of water. Then you become competently competent. What they want you to become is incompetently competent, where you just know what to do organically. It's like second nature to you. Does that make sense?
You mean you want to be competently competent?
No. They want you to be no. Hang on. They want you to be unconsciously competent. So they want you to not have to think about it, and you know exactly what to do. Yeah,
incompetently competent. So that's
sorry. I might have said it wrong. So and I look at it and go, well, where are Premier League referees right now? I think they are at a point where there is incompetence, but I think they're completely unaware of it because it's always brushed under a carpet.
I think they're at that stage still. You think they're at that stage?
But I think it's gone full circle. I think referees have to work really hard to get to the highest level. I think once they get into the highest level, I think they're so pampered and protected, they end up becoming worse at their jobs for the standard they're at, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's some people in life, and I don't mean to be mean, but there are some people in life. You just watch them operate. You see how they do things. They're always making mistakes, but you just like, you're just stupid, innit? Like, and that's what it feels like. It's like they think they're doing the right thing.
But this is why I use the banking industry as a great example. We all know what happened in 2008, right? And I joined the banking world at the back end, the beginning of 2007. So when the world collapsed, by the way, the retail element of banking had very little to do with it. PPI was a big thing. But I remember sitting there and all these customers are going crazy and mad at me. And all I kept on thinking is, I wasn't even here. I was very selfish. I weren't even here. I don't know. I didn't even understand what they were talking about because I was still learning. But as I was in the bank 4, 5, 6 years, what you started to realize is, and this is exactly what's happening with referees, there was all these weird Spanish customs. Everything bad people did was being covered up because, you're good. Everything got covered up. So the whole industry was doing the craziest things. I was so lucky that I joined just as it was all being exposed because they had to teach us properly. They didn't teach us any of the bad. Some of the things, even at a retail branch level, somebody would come in with their wife's bank card, which isn't against the law. The only rule it breaks on the T&Cs was if you tell someone your PIN number and then your card gets stolen and somebody else uses it, at that point in the world, we weren't liable to give you your money back because you'd divulge your PIN number. Do you know what cashiers used to do? Right up to the branch manager, and everyone thought it was normal. They'd take the card and go, that's illegal. You're breaking the law. We're keeping that from you now. Customers would go mad, start punching the screens, going crazy. This is in the East End of London. And we'd all sit there. Everyone would sit. The staff would sit there, winding them up, smiling at them, laughing. And I remember being very new, going, is this normal? All the experienced people, 20, 30 years in the bank went, yeah, it's what we do. But my point is, they were at a point where they were completely incompetent, right? But they had no idea they were. But it was because it was this element. They learned how to do things, and then bad habits set in, and nobody was putting them right. So you end up in this fucking cesspool of behavior, and it isn't like that anymore because they had to fix up once everything. And that's why what made it fix up was a massive investigation and exposure of all these problems. And that's what I think it is. I know actually at the highest level of banking, there was definitely corruption and people breaking laws, right? And maybe that is going on. But the point is, it was only because of the mis-selling and incompetent behaviors that people started looking. So yeah, there could be corruption at the highest level. I'm not going to say it doesn't exist, but there is also this element of referees making mistakes, then they get protected like Howard Webb did. They're not going to learn from that. And you're going to get more and more and more and more because they're never reprimanded. These people. It's crazy, man. Terry, how is it incompetence when you have VAR refs actively trying to convince the on-field ref to change their mind on his original decision? I agree. And that's why these things should be looked into. I'm not saying there is no chance of corruption, no chance of bias, no chance of a betting problem. You look at Michael Oliver and the work that he's done in the UAE, could that still be in his mind? Are people, forget asking him to do it, if somebody does you a turn in life, a good favor, and then there's a chance to maybe help them a little bit, there's always the opportunity that subconsciously that's on your mind. Maybe not consciously going, I'm going to make sure I help City today, not Liverpool. But it's why I should never have been allowed to do it. Because the mind works in those kind of ways.
It's human element, though. I mean, I think people forget that. I mean, I forget it. I'm guilty of forgetting it with footballers and managers. You know, they get paid enough. Forget their human side. They get paid enough. But the truth is, we're human. They make mistakes. There's emotions. There's bias. You cannot control that. So I don't know what people are expecting from VAR right now.
We can give them 7 years, but where are the improvements? Yeah, I actually think it's got worse in the 7 years. My personal feeling, I do get your point. It's new, but I think what it needs an outside agent. I think it needs somebody governing it who's not currently there. I think it needs I think with football, there's so much money in our game.
Fresh set of eyes on it. Right?
Yeah. I think there needs to be an independent. I think, listen, they want to pay me the right money. I'll run it. I'll run it. We need an independent regulator that regulates these things just to make sure the training's right. Think about it as a normal job. Are they training people correctly? Are they reviewing them right? Are they reprimanding them correctly? What's the conversation? Because I look at David Coote as an example. Do I blame the PGMOL for the mad stuff with child images? No, right? I don't blame them for that, right? But do I blame them for all the other things being said and done? And then it was as soon as one story came out, the amount of other stories that came out, you're thinking, surely they've heard of one of these. This can't all just have come out now. My gut feeling tells me they must have known something, because normally people do.
Like it probably is a referee culture, not the child thing. I'm not talking about the child thing.
Yeah.
Talking about like the partying, the doing drugs, like saying things about like other teams and managers. That's probably a referee culture that they again are covering up, because it's always this one thing where it's like something bad happens. Oh, he's just the bad apple. You know what I mean? It's just him. You know what I mean? Who's playing with? Who's going out with? You know what I mean? All these different things. You think they're not talking?
Because it did say that he was trying to arrange like a drug party after like when they're all away on international duty or what? And it's like, well, who was he inviting and who went? Like,
exactly.
I think these things have got to be looked at. And no, there's definitely calls for it there. But viewers, look, give us your thoughts, give us your opinions in the comment section. Thank you, Luke, for encouraging everybody to hit that like button for us today. Right, I've got our first hot take of the day. Do we do Arsenal or do we do Man United?
Up to you, Captain.
Let's do Man United. Okay, let's do Man United. So, brace yourself, David. All right, okay, I want you to stay calm. I want you to stay really, really calm. This here says, Man United could be in a title race this season if they sign a left wing back and DM in January. And to preface this hot take, good ones that improve us, of course.
So we need to preface it again. Is it instead of another player? So there's two positions there. Is it instead of two positions that we bought, or including all the signings?
Just add to the squad.
No, it's this January. If we went and got a very good left wing back and a very good, we got Baleba and who's a very good left wing back that we could sign. Top of my head.
Just say Nuno Mendes. Just say Nuno Mendes.
No, that's completely impossible. Let's say we went and got Lewis Hall from Newcastle and Baleba, or Livramento from Newcastle and Baleba. Let's use them as an example. Yeah.
Rafael Leao, would you sign him?
No.
You wouldn't. No, you don't like him.
No.
We move on. To answer your question, I think if we did get that, Look, Fergie used to do it all the time in January, where he would sign a Henrik Larsson or a Michael Owen or someone to just boost the ranks to give that push towards the title race, right? I know we're not that team anymore, but we're still struggling in midfield. I mean, it don't take a rocket scientist to tell anyone that. Dorgu's not pulled up trees. Dallo, I mean, he's played everywhere for us, isn't he? We can't find a position for him. I do believe, and I said this a few weeks back, I think we're on the cusp of a fairy tale, and it might be my emotions. I think the viewers are starting to learn that. I can go from here to here, right?
Yeah, we call him Emo David in the group chat.
Yeah.
Emo David.
Yeah, exactly. I think if we did get let's just imagine they hit the ground running, just like Mbumo has, right? Then, mate, I do believe we'd have a good chance of a fairy tale for sure. For sure. I struggle to say it, man, because I get all emotional, bro, thinking about it, because I don't know if
Go on, KJ. No, it's cap, man. Like, even if we got the DM, even if we got the left wing back, we're still not at that level yet to say that we would happily challenge for the Premier League and all of that. Like, I know people really rate our squad, but most of this team is still the ones that finished 15th. This is still the manager that finished 15th. As much as I'm willing to give Amorim a chance to prove himself and get back in my good books, because I've said he's not in there anymore, I don't trust him. I don't trust the way we play. I don't trust our style. Like, yes, we're doing well, and all I want us to do is do well. So yes, buy players to make us better. But even if we got Baleba and a top tier left wing back or whatever, I look at us play. I'm like, we're still not there yet. We can't control games. We concede too much at the back, and it's through foolishness as well. And yeah, we're scoring more goals, but there will be times where we won't be able to score. You know what I mean? There will be times where we're struggling to create. We've already seen that we score more goals and win more points when we have less possession than the opposition. So we still need to go up levels. We still need to improve in certain areas before I can sit there and say 2 signings, title charge on. Like that. That's where I'm at.
Where I'm at with it. Sorry, Terry. I think it's history as well. It's history as well. I mean, your viewers are very knowledgeable. I'm sure they know this. The reason, and just a quick background check on Amorim and why he got the job. Yeah, he took over at Sporting and they were struggling. They hadn't won the league in 19 years. Yeah, mm-hmm. When he got there, people were invading the training ground. This is before he got there, and they were smashing up players. That's how bad it was there. Yeah, mm-hmm. He got there and he got rid of, call it the bomb squad like he did at Man United, got rid of a whole bunch of players, implemented his style, his system, signed new players, and within his first full season, won them the league, right? This is why he got the job at Man United. The owners at Man United saw this and thought, hang on a minute, I know Sporting Lisbon's not Manchester United, but if he does this for us, if he can do exactly this for us, this is the manager for us. This is why he got the job. I'd argue he's done exactly that so far, right? He's got rid of the bomb squad. He's fixed the attitude, I believe, in the team. That the team looks like they're playing for him, for sure. There's no lack in effort, in my opinion. It's just more quality. I feel like he's done more quality. I feel like he's done everything he's done at Sporting so far. The only issue with Amorim is that his system is very specific. It needs specific players. I'm a little bit upset with the transfer window, yeah? Cunha, Mbumo, Mount, Xerxes, Mainu. The reason I'm shouting these names out, Bruno Fernandes, they're all number 10s. They're all number 10s. We've got a squad full of number 10s. And I just feel like with this hot take, we could have looked after this already. We could have sorted this scenario out already in the summer. I don't think we needed to get Cunha and Mbumo, you know? I just feel like we've got the reason Mainu can't get in the team, mate, is because in this system he's a number 10. That's the truth. He can't play midfield.
I hear that. One thing I would say though about forget the recruitment slightly before Amorim came in, because we the club has said we've gone in a new direction because they picked someone that plays a different style. Sometimes you can't see the wood for the trees, and I get your point. You wouldn't have bought Cunha yet, and I don't think Cunha's hit the heights for us we want yet. I think he's been good. He's had a couple
I think he's been great, by the way. I think he has been great.
No, I hear that. But we might look back in 2 years' time and go, I completely get why we got Cunha now. And by the way, it may have been a case of we're going to get him now because he's got a buyout clause and someone else is going to buy him and then he's not available. So sometimes when you buy isn't always. I always say this to people: just because you don't, let's say Baleba is our number one midfield target, and we couldn't get him last summer. Maybe he's the most important part of the entire puzzle. Now, some will go because when we play computer games, we go, well, you buy the most important player first. It doesn't always work that way. It might be that Mbeumo and Cunha are really important, but we can't wait a year because they're going to go somewhere else where Baleba's not going to be sold till the following summer, so we can wait until that point. Fergie did this. Fergie spoke about how he was quite happy with. He obviously wanted to win earlier than he did, but he knew it was going to take time, and it was we waited for certain players and we waited for certain things. So there's all of that. On the hot take in itself, I don't believe we could go and get Baleba. We could go and sign Grimaldo. We could go and get Rob. I really like Fulham's left back. I know he's had some injury problems in Anthony Robinson. We can go and add players like that. What I like about him, he just whips crosses in all day, and I think we need to do that for Šeško. But we could go and sign both of them, and we could go and get Baleba. We're not going to be in a title race. So the hot take in itself is too much. Could we make it into a Champions League position? Yes. Could, if we had a midfielder like Baleba who covers more. Like I was looking actually at João Gomez that we're linked to, and I watched a little bit of footage on him, and then I was looking at his numbers because I do think looking at the facts behind the eye test is key. I look at footage, I look at numbers, always have, always will. He does everything to the same degree in terms of winning possession, tackles made, dual succession that Casemiro is currently doing. Now, do I think Casemiro at his pomp was better? Yes, but we're looking at right now. But the two things he does that Casemiro is nowhere near as good at him as doing is carrying the ball, covering ground, speed, and his pass completion rate in terms of moving the ball forward. Those things for João Gomez are superior, and they should, bar the passing, the other thing should be, because he's a much younger man, right? So I do look at it and think, if you took out Casemiro now and kept all these good attributes and added more legs, more speed, is there a possibility we're better in our current games? The answer is yes. I look at our left-hand side. If our left-hand side had been operating how we'd seen Mbeumo and Amad in recent games playing, if that was also playing in the same way, could we win more games? Yes. Could we get a European position if we did that in January? There is a chance with how we've started. Do I think we can challenge Arsenal for this league title? No. I just don't think we're anywhere near their level of consistency personally.
Now, what I will say though is, if we did, I'm just gonna. Here comes a what if from David. Can you imagine? What I would say though, if we had those two players against Nottingham Forest and against Spurs, right? Yeah. We could have won those games, and we would be banging it. We would be banging it, and momentum's a mad thing. Crazier things have happened, guys. So I'm not saying it's a tough one for me to agree with the hot take, but I don't think it's crazy. I don't think it's crazy.
But this is the thing. So you've seen this Staffy the fraud who couldn't. I'm too tired to come on stream. But yet you can comment on the thing. All right, cool. Here's my problem. With this one.
Pussy.
This is David. I don't know you before like this season, so I can't speak on what you said last season. But this is coming from someone who has been cussing out Casemiro. You know what I mean? He's been cussing out the manager. He's been cussing out this team. You know, I've seen many Man United fans that have said that this team is crap. This team is rubbish. This manager's awful. All these things. So how have all of a sudden we've gone from that in the summer to now? Oh, if we just sign two players, we're gonna challenge for the title. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. There's still issues lying from what we saw last season in this season. And I know new players help because look at us. We can score more goals because we've got better attackers. Cool.
What will say, KJ?
You can't switch. Because you know the last time someone's gone from being crap to winning a league was Leicester in 2016.
Yeah. But you know who almost done it? You know who almost done it with almost just one signing who completely changed it and made players up a level? Suarez at Liverpool. Yeah. He was like that.
Let's not do that, man. They were 8.
No, but hold on.
They were 8, 7, 6. They all used to get champion. Like they had a squad.
Yeah, but sometimes that one player, and just ask Eric Cantona as an example.
But here's the thing,
sometimes that one player, KJ, can change a lot of things.
Yes, David.
That one player can change a lot of things.
You can, but here's the thing, yeah.
Positive David did.
People have been going at Amorim. People have been going at Amorim for saying, well, everything needs to be perfect to make sure we can win games. Like the system needs to be perfect to make sure everything can win. Yeah. So with people going from there's too many variables to go right for it to be successful. So people come from that to like all we need is one magical variable and we can win it all. Do you see where my mind is going?
I see how crazy it is. I see how crazy it is. Yeah. I see how crazy it is. But there is emotion attached to that. And I've used the word fairy tale. Listen, do you guys believe in fairy tales? I still do, believe it or not, at 34 years of age.
I don't believe in two. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, well, because you believe in God. Is that what it is?
Yeah. People think I believe in one. I don't need two.
Do you know what? See, when Staffy says what he says here, like, because I look at the league, this is where I agree to a certain extent with Staffy. I look at the league and I think if we could add, and I'm just throwing names in there, people have different ideas. I was saying this the other day, forget even left wing back. If you put Elliot Anderson and Baleba into our midfield in January, I think there's a possibility we could go up a level. I think if you start the season with those two in our midfield, everything else the same. So we still sign the same players in the summer, but you also add those two midfielders in. Is it conceivable we have at least 6 more points? I don't think anyone would go, that would be a crazy take. Yeah. Could we have had even more chances against Arsenal? Could we have controlled the game better when we were leading against Fulham? Would we have been run through as easily against Man City? Who else did we drop point? Brentford, would that have been a closer game? Could we have got a point there? I look at all of those examples and go, you might be able to find between 4 to 6 points. You add 4 to 6 points onto our total. We're a couple behind Arsenal, right? What I feel is, though, being 11 games in, I feel that whatever the gap is now between us and the top, or whatever the hypothetical gap would be with those players, another 11 games in, it's going to grow by that amount. Another 11 games in, it's going to grow. I still think we would get to 30 games into this season, and I still think we'd be 10 to 15 points behind Arsenal, and I wouldn't consider that a title race, personally.
Do you know where my worry is? I'm going to ask you guys a question. I mean, it's an easy answer, right? But do you feel like we need a Michael Carrick in midfield or a Kante in midfield? What is it that we need out of those two? You think if we had to pick one right now, which one?
I'll go. If I had to pick one, it'll be a Kante, because we lack so much speed and recovery.
This is where I'm at. This is where I'm at. When was the last time, if ever, maybe Roy Keane, that we signed that type of midfielder? When was it?
Well, we just don't, but that's also why I think.
So this is my worry with this hot take, is that we won't sign the actual midfielder that we need.
Yeah, just anyone.
Again, I agree. Wharton's brilliant. I love Wharton, and he would give us a new dimension, but we still need more legs. But that's why I think there's something about the João Gomez link that has me a little excited as a loan. Because I don't think you can get Anderson or Wharton. I don't think we'll get Baleba in January. I don't think none of those signings are doable in January. But a loan for a player like João Gomez, who gives us a bit more energy, a bit more legs, good pull. Again, I'm not talking about this guy as though he's going to be the best midfield player in the world. That lack of it. By the way, I even understand why the club are looking at Conor Gallagher as a potential short-term fix, because it's legs in the middle, and it's something we miss. Now, I don't want Conor Gallagher long term. I'm not advocating for that as a deal. But funny, I understand we lack people that can cover the ground, and in the modern day Premier League game, speed, power, pace, acceleration. If you lack it, you're in trouble.
Yeah. But the thing is, that's what you got is supposed to be, and yet we're here, and we're still here, bro.
KJ, that's exactly what I was going to say. We signed Ugarte, and earlier, Terry, you were talking about João Gomez's numbers and the ground he covers and interception. I mean, Ugarte ticked all those boxes too, and Ugarte used to play for Amorim. And Amorim, I read something the other day that he said to Ugarte, "You're not the same player. You're not the same player."
But this is always it though, and this is why when you sign a player, for instance, me and Staffy went at it regarding Ugarte, and what you'll now hear is, "I told you it'd be a flop." My view is, but I always knew he'd flop at what you thought he'd flop at. He was never going to be Coutinho. He was never going to be João Neves. Yeah. What I thought he would be
is going to be a Kante.
Cover the ground, won the ball back, but he ain't doing it. And it was so interesting because Amorim's looked at him, and Amorim hasn't even said you're not working hard enough. But this sometimes happens. Players get a move to a club like PSG, then United, make loads of money, and go, I made it. This happens in every walk of life and every profession. People hit a certain level and they stop putting in those grounds. So, by the way, you could join João Gomez. You could sign Baleba. By the way, Baleba, we're going to be really, I want him. But if you actually look at him this year, he's been a shadow of himself. Now, that could be...
He didn't play well against us either. Casemiro and Bruno did great against him. They did. And we knocked Casemiro and Bruno. We knocked Casemiro and Bruno, and they did fantastic. I do have a question for you guys, though. And this is very hypothetical because the man's always injured, right? And I think it's tough to know how he would do because playing with... You can be good on the ball, and I think you'll know who I'm talking about as I explain this. You can be good on the ball facing play, but receiving the ball with the back to play, you might not be as good. And he's always injured. Would you play Lisandro Martinez in midfield? Would you play him in that role?
So here's the thing.
No.
I say no. I love Lisandro, by the way. I've dabbled with this idea in my brain as well, myself. If this was if we was in a possession-heavy based team with a midfield three, and you just want him to be the linchpin, where he can just have time, spread the ball, he can drop into the back three and do what he does.
He's great at linking things, KJ, right? He's great at linking defense to attack.
Yeah, you find that one-threaded ball and find the right guy and do it. So the idea in itself makes sense, but the problem is the parameters that we're in. We don't play a heavy possession team. We don't play a three-man midfield. And if we did, I can't guarantee we'd do it where he would drop into centre-back. So I would say no.
He actually ticks the boxes, right? He does. He's tenacious. He will go into a tackle with his head, with his ankle, with his earlobe. He does not care, right? He's good on the ball. He's passionate. The only bad thing is he's injured. And he'll probably get injured within 1 week in that position.
The big attribute you just said, he will dive into tackles in order to, and he'll defend with his life. Those are great last man in the defense kind of attributes. When you're the guy in the middle, you've got to be more tact.
What about you, Terry? Would you play him there?
So I don't think he needs to start in midfield because what our manager wants is centre backs like Lisandro who can step into the midfield. So essentially, this is what I mean, but I don't look at it as what position will his face be put in by Sky Sports or on FootMob or who scored. I care about the positions. And if you actually look at Luke Shaw's heat map, some of the touches, he looks like a wing back still. There are a lot of times he's touching the ball in central midfield as well. So, but the left-hand side of it. So he'll do a lot of. He actually look at Luke Shaw. I'm going to put. I'm going to get it. It's taking me time. I've got to clip it. But if you look at Luke, just the wrong button I've clicked on. If you look at Luke Shaw's heat map as an example, a lot of his touches come in the central midfield areas. He has to go out wide as well. But this is where I think, like Lisandro, when he first started playing for Ruben, I didn't like it. I thought he looked out of place. I thought he was making mistakes. I just thought it was going to be really bad.
He did look better under Ten Hag, didn't he? He did.
But then I felt in the last 5, 6, 7 games before he got that injury, I felt he was starting to understand it. I thought he was starting to defend well. He obviously created that. There was 2 goals he created for us by going into midfield. The Bruno Fernandes one against Rangers, the goal against City.
Against Fulham as well.
Yeah, he scored the goal against Fulham. He's obviously scored the goal against Liverpool. He started, and that wasn't a centre. That was someone playing centre back, but he was doing what you expect to see from midfielders. So my point being, I don't think he needs to be one of the double pivot. I think playing as the left centre back, he's going to do a lot of midfield roles. When I show you this here from Luke Shaw, nobody would consider this. We'll know it's a centre back because I've said it's a centre back. But if I showed you that heat map, nobody would say it's a centre back. So there's so much of that is midfield. Now it's not central, but it's midfield. The some of it looks like a wing back, some of it looks like a centre back. But there's a lot of it. Yeah, it looks maybe like a left back again that inverts and goes into those middle areas. And I think you'll see even more of that from Lisandro. I think you'll see Lisandro do a lot more of that. So I think he will take up.
Who are you taking out
Luke
in
Shaw.
this centre back position?
Luke Shaw every day.
But I think Luke Shaw, I spent all summer calling this guy what's it legs because his legs snap at any opportunity. That's a bad joke, to be honest, because he actually had a leg break. So apologies for that, right? But I wouldn't take him out. I think he's been good. And if we're suffering in midfield, why not try Lisandro Martinez there if we don't get a João Gomez? I think it's worth a go.
Fair, like you just mentioned his injury record. He's just come back from injury. Put him in our worst position for work rate is not a good. Is probably not a good idea for him.
True.
His body. You know what I mean? Even just that alone is not a good idea. But I get what you're saying. But for me, that's what squads are for, though. Like that's what because Luke Shaw's a squad player to me now. He's not a main guy. So yes,
I think he's been good though. He has been good.
But equally, when I say that, I'll take back what I said and I'll rephrase it. I wouldn't just throw Lisandro straight in. Lisandro's got to come on, have sub appearances, prove himself, fight away. But I don't think anybody. There isn't a single player, barring maybe Mbumo this year so far, who I look at and go, Delit. No, I'm a liar. Lemaines, Delit, Ahmad, and Mbumo. Probably Bruno Fernandes because he's captain, but I get why people wouldn't. They're the only four that I'd say if they spend a month or two out injured, I want them straight back in. Everybody else, you're fighting for a first team place anyway. So yeah, I want to see him fight for it.
What I will say, where would you rank Martinez in regards to a Manchester United mindset? He's right up there, isn't he?
I like Lisandro Martinez. It's my only concern with him because I don't necessarily look at him as like his foot when it got hurt was someone standing on it and breaking it, and then it was a bodged operation that kept him out longer, and then his knee happened.
The first one, he kicked the floor.
Sorry, kicked the floor down his leg. But one he had a bodged operation that kept him out. I can't blame a player for the surgeon doing a bad job. The next,
KJ just killed me. I'm asking to play him in midfield, and KJ's telling us he's kicked the floor.
Yeah,
but anyway, carry on.
But when he done his knee, it was somebody landing on his knee in a certain angle. I don't necessarily consider that to be someone who's injury prone. The problem is the amount of time on the sidelines over the last couple of years. What that can then start leading to is loads of niggles and other problems. And that's my concern with Lisandro. I really rate him. He's had some bad moments. I've criticized him. Who hasn't in Man United in the last 12 to 13 years? But I don't think he's anywhere near as bad a player. When we actually, that first 6 months under Ten Hag, when we actually liked our team, I looked at him and I love what it was about. I know Staffy's actually joining us in a minute. I know Staffy hates it. He calls it the fake hard man thing. I love a United player that gets in the face of an opponent, is up for a fight, and I like that. Right, I really, really do. So let's see what he's like when he comes back.
Fun fact about Lisandro Martinez, which is one of the other reasons why I was fearful of Spurs and losing to Spurs in the Europa League final. Since he's been here, we've been to 4 finals, and they're the only 2 ones we've won. The 2 games that he played for us. We've never won a final without Lisandro Martinez.
I think he's a very good player.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the chat thinks, mate. The chat, I mean, would they put back Lisandro Martinez in midfield if we couldn't buy a midfielder?
No, a lot of them saying no, but they would put Maz, and I support that notion. I would try Maz in midfield because he's fantastic.
This is great from Dan, by the way. Dan says, I'm not allowed to be positive about Arsenal, top of the league, but Dave's saying United are in a title race. Get him. Get him. Here he is. He's woken up now. Here he is. Staffy.
Why do you think I was sleeping? I never said I was sleeping.
You said you were cooked.
Cooked. Okay, cooked can mean many things. Like something happened, so now I'm cooked. Like I can't do.
We wouldn't say that here. We wouldn't say that here. If someone says, I'm cooked today, I can't make it, we would interpret it as you're like tired, ruined, finished.
It could mean that. It could mean that. But
okay.
I've been up.
I know what you with a girl, innit? You were with a girl. You with a lady.
No.
Because this lady is nice and stuff. He's feeling all right.
Unfortunately, I had some work stuff to handle.
There we go. Yeah, we're almost over the Man United section. Do you want to add anything before the end of it, before we move on to Arsenal?
I listened to most of it. KJ's waffling when he says, what, by the way, what was the question again? Was it top 4 or winning the league?
No, yeah. So I'll put the hot take up so you can read it. So this is what the hot take was. Manchester United could be in a title race this season if they sign a left wing back and DM in January.
Okay, so let me apologize. I thought it was a top 4 race. Apologies, KJ. See,
receive the top
because
4.
Me and you had a similar conversation last week about the top 4 race, and you said the same things. So I assumed it was the same thing again. I was no.
If we got those, then I would say top 4 is a better chance.
I don't think there's going to be a title race this season at all. Our only hope of a title race, honestly, I think is going to be down to Man City. And when I say hope, as if any of us here, I mean, look at us, a panel of 4 Man United fans. That's horrible hope. No one fucking wants that. But I'm just saying, for the sake of a Premier League viewer, if you want to watch a title race, then you got to bank on City. Unfortunately, that's what it's looking like. Us, no, I do think we can easily be in a top 4 race. I've heard the same people make the same argument KJ did, but towards a top 4 race, which makes it a lot worse, because I'm looking at the quality around us. Honestly, other than Arsenal, who the hell has been that level of consistent for anyone else to say, yeah, you can't get near this? The league is probably the most open I've ever seen it. I'm not saying United couldn't get in a title race, but I wouldn't be shocked if a random team got in a title race because of the level of inconsistency. And no, it has nothing to do with being rage baited. Guys, I was genuinely busy. Like, you guys know I'm always here if I could be here, but I had stuff to do.
Staffy, to your point though, I think the issue is with like the league right now. As much as yes, right now it looks like anyone can do anything and it's fair, but we're banking on teams not being consistent, but we also are equally as inconsistent as them.
I agree.
So it's one of those ones where, for me, it's too much of a toss-up for anyone to be fully confident about top 4 right now. And if you look at the teams in this race, you got like Chelsea, Liverpool, Palace is there, like they're just below us by 2 points. And you got if you look at all the teams in there, who are you most confident can go and actually go on a run compared to Man United? That's what I would say. Because as much as we are happy now with 5 games unbeaten, still, by the way, 5 games unbeaten, we accept that. We don't know how long that will last for, compared to maybe if we know if a Liverpool got going, when a Chelsea got going, they can string 10 games in it. So that's where I'm a bit more reserved.
I'm in a tough place. I'm in a tough place for Man United at the moment. Yeah, I feel like we were awful before these 5 games. We were awful. That's the only way to describe us. And I guess part of me thought we could go from awful to being good, being up there. But the truth is, he's taken us from awful to maybe mediocre now. And that shows in that Nottingham Forest game. That shows in that Spurs game. I was fuming after those games. But I have to accept that that's our level, because last season we probably would have lost those games. Right? 100%. We probably would have lost those games. So he's taken us from awful. By the way, he helped drag us down to awful.
Yeah, I was about to tell you, don't forget, he took us to awful.
He helped drag us down to awful. I'm not going to say he didn't. But now he's brought us up to mediocre. I just hope and pray we go from mediocre to good now. Because I don't trust him, like you said, KJ.
You're skipping average, mate. You're skipping average. We need to get to average first. Then
okay. I would say mediocre is average.
Now, if I'm being honest with you.
Mediocre is average, in my opinion.
Okay,
but what I'm saying is, what if we go back? What if we go backwards? And that's my fear. That could easily happen under this manager.
But that's why my feet are just very firmly on the ground. And I know that I get some fans about United are more emotional and they're more up and down. I try and keep myself a little bit more grounded, where I'm not losing my shit all the time. Equally, I'm not getting overly carried away with things. And I agree with large parts of what are being said. Can we? Let's see what our home form is going to be an important part of our consistency. Can we continue to win most of our games at home? I always expect a Man United team to win most of our games at home. If for instance, right now, I could guarantee that to you, that we will win 90% of our games at home, as we always used to, that might change everybody's minds around could we make a European position? Because then it's just a case of, well, can we become more consistent away from home? You're going to accumulate a lot of points by being good at home in the league. So, and I think we've started to do that. And the Everton game is another test on that level. We go and beat Everton. Suddenly it's, hang on, that's 5 wins out of 6 at home in the Premier League at home. That's going to start to change. It isn't just about our mindset changing. It's teams coming to Old Trafford. You need to build that little fear factor up. It's a hard place to go. I feel that for the last 2 or 3 seasons, everyone's come to our home ground going, we could get a big result here today.
My worry.
You have to stop that. You have to stop it.
My worry, and you're not going to like what I'm going to say. I was saying this in pre-season, at the start of the season, and even now, I don't think it's changed. We're still Moments FC. We still rely on get the ball to Bruno. Bruno gets it to Cunha and Mbumo. And hopefully a moment happens. We don't have sustained.
I hear you,
we don't have
but not
attacks.
at home. No, that's not true. At home, we didn't beat Arsenal, but there were sustained attacks. Burnley, I know they came back. The defending's got issues. We should have been 3-0 up at half time. The Chelsea game's hard to judge because we battered them in the first 3 minutes. Red card. What that happened, right? Then we played Brighton. We were very good against Brighton. I know, again, defensively we messed up, but on an attacking level, loads of opportunities. Sunderland at home, again, I thought that's probably our best game of the season. Lots of attacks, got the goals. What we conceded one chance in like the 80th minute, which Lemans saved. I don't think at home, away from home, I agree with you. This is why I'm saying I feel like we're two different teams at the minute, at home versus away. We need to get that consistency away from home. But the reason our feet are on the ground, it's still a small sample size. And there is some growth, and I hated what Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank said yesterday when he said like there's been zero improvements. They ain't scoring more goals. They're not doing this. I'm like, see, that's my problem with punditry around United. It's a lie. It's a lie. You can't say we're not scoring more goals. It's just factually incorrect.
We're literally at a quarter already to our total from last
year.
Yeah.
And that's the bit that frustrates me is I don't like. I feel like there's loads to criticize, and I still do loads to improve on. But this is why I defend my club sometimes, because I feel what the media does is go over the top. And to say there's been like no improvements in any capacity anywhere, it just isn't true.
Results have improved. That's the end of story. Like for me, I've been very consistent with that. Results, if they're better and they improve, I will chill out. I will relax. The pressure's off the manager for me. But he better not go backwards. Otherwise, I'll be singing the same song as before.
Here's the thing.
Results analysis confirmed, okay?
Here's the thing, These next, for me, I've been saying it for a while, and I'll keep saying it. I've kind of extended this unbeaten period that I wanted because I've re-looked at it again. We've got 10 games, and these are 10 games. Everton at home, Palace away, West Ham at home, Wolves away, Bournemouth at home,
it's a decent
away,
run.
Newcastle at home, Wolves at home, Leeds away, Burnley away. Those are our next 10 games before I think it might be Man City or Arsenal, one of those games.
How many wins is acceptable, David and Staffy, in that period? Like, how do you look at it? How many? Because we're not going to win all of them. This is what I mean by overreacting. Because I don't think Arsenal would win all those games. I don't think City would win all those games because you got some very tough teams. Man United. Like, how many wins in that period would you go, that's acceptable again for me not to be crashing out on the internet? What would you set?
Come on, Staffy, you can.
So Everton at home, I think Everton have been good this year, but I think you have to beat Everton at home.
Yep.
If you want to be this team that you always tell us we are meant to be, as in the manager, not you, Terry.
Okay.
The West Ham and Wolves games, I swear to God, they're non-negotiable. I don't want to hear anything. They are non-negotiable to me. Those two games are black and white to me. You either win and I'm good, or you either lose and I crash out. That's it. I'm not gonna say but we got unfortunate.
That's facts.
Those guys are food. The only team that actually take points for the only team that actually gave Wolves points was Tottenham, which is why I'm even more angry that we didn't win last week. If you don't win those three, I'm gonna struggle to find. I mean, I try to find positives, as people like to pretend that I'm always negative. I deadass try my best to find positives, but those 9 points, they're huge. Palace, I can understand not winning this game because I do think Palace is a good team. I know people like to play the name thing. Oh, their name is Palace, our name is United. It's an automatic win. It's a good team. That team whooped Liverpool 3 times this season. They just won the FA Cup. They won the what's it called? The Charity Shield. Even though I know it's people don't take it seriously, but they're a good team. I've seen them put good performances. What's the last team you mentioned, KJ, in the 5 year?
So there's
Burnley.
Hang on, but let's do it in order, right? So we've done Everton.
We already played Burnley.
We're playing them. Hang on, we're playing them in the next 10 games again. So you've done Everton, you've done Palace, you've then done West Ham, you've done Wolves. The next game is Bournemouth at home.
I think we can. See, at the start of the season, I would say draw would be good but recently they've been getting exposed, and at home we have to win. We have to win that game.
Okay,
but what's the difference between us and them, KJ? Because I do think they've been doing well. I actually defended them on the Troop stream the other day when Lee was trying to say that. What was he saying? That he was saying Areola is basically a loser because he hasn't won anything with Bournemouth, and I'm like, well, that's crazy because they're a very good team. No, they were really coached well. I mean, my logic was like this team just got gutted over the summer. All their defenders left, and I don't know where they're sitting right now, but for the majority of the first 10 games, they were in the top 4. It's insane to call a team like that a loser team. However, though, my point is they've been coached very well. I think Bournemouth, when you look at Bournemouth, I think they're pound for pound, easily you could say they're the best coached team in the league Because you look at their quality versus their results and the way that they play. Yes, I understand people are going to say, oh, how could you say that when Arteta's in the league or Pep is in the league? But I'm talking about coaching to the quality to players ratio. I think they have arguably the worst quality compared to the performance and the results that they get. And you could put Sunderland up there as well because they just got promoted. So the difference between us and them always comes down to coaching, which is why I rate Areola very high. I'm looking at this game now, and those are the 5 games we were talking about right now. I don't care about the other 5. I'm just looking at the next 5. When I look at those 5, the difference between us winning and losing to Bournemouth, I wouldn't be shocked if it's coaching one again. Because I look at our team. Our team is better. Our team is better than a lot of teams in this league, which is why I say the same thing every week when you don't get the results that we want. I expect better performances because of the quality that we have compared to the coaching. So that is my worry for that game.
So to the question then, you want at least... So is that in your win column, or you're okay with a draw?
Just don't get outcoached again. If we get outcoached again,
okay. I'm a little bit like you. I'm a little bit like you, right? I would like if someone said to me now, in the next 5 games, you're going to get 3 wins, a draw, and a loss. I'd probably take it because.
I'll be fine with that.
But what I want to see in that is some good performances and some progression. What would annoy me in that is getting beat 4-0 away from home by Palace. And in that draw at home, we just got against, say, Bournemouth, the draw at home, we've just got no ideas. What would also annoy me is you go away and you beat Crystal Palace and you beat Bournemouth at home, but you draw and lose to Wolves and West Ham. Like, it isn't just numbers for me. There is a performance element that I just can't personally ignore. But by and large, if someone said to me in our next 3 games, we're going to walk away from 5 games, there's 15 points available, and we're going to walk away with 10. I think I'd take it. I think I'd take it. I just think I'd take it, to be fair.
But here's me. I'm not going to... This is going to sound, again, mad, but this is not what I expect. This is what I want. So someone said to me, someone asked me in the comments, actually, what would it take for me to start trusting the team and the manager again? You see this 10-game run? If we can get through it unbeaten, they got my trust back. If we have... like 2 losses out of 10 and majority of wins and maybe a draw or 2, again, I can have the trust can be back. But that's what it's going to take. What do I expect, though? I expect a loss to maybe a Bournemouth and Newcastle or Aston Villa, you know?
Yeah.
But if someone's asking me, I'll get my trust back and I'll be like David, where I'm starting to envision the Premier League. I need to be...
Let me ask a question here. And I want quick answers from both... Yeah. From both Staffy and David. So at the same time, it's fine. I want a really quick answer.
Go for it.
If we win the next 5 games, you back to being Amorim In?
No.
100%.
Okay.
No.
100%. 100%. Yeah. Let me tell you something. Hold on. Let me be consistent because I've got to rush off back to work. Sorry, yeah. I said early on in the season, at the 10-game mark, if this manager doesn't have more points than games, get rid of him. Right? What are we on? 17 points? Something like that? What is it?
18.
Is it 17? 18 points?
18 points. Yeah.
Right. That was the standard I set to say, if he's above points than he is games, then listen, give him till the end of the season. If he can manage to get the same over the next 10 games, right? He's got to do better than that. But if he can manage to get 18 points over the next 10 games, that's 11 games so far, I get it. Then I'll be happy. Fair. We were losing every week, guys. We were losing to Grimsby, guys. It was an emotional, not even a roller coaster. You know, roller coasters go up and down. This was just down.
It was
there's
Oblivion.
so much you can take.
Have you guys been to Alton Towers? Oblivion.
That's
what
hole in the ground.
It's down.
But usually there's an end. There's only so much your lungs can take and your mind can take. This was never ending, guys.
Well,
so
that's why Staffy's still unconscious from that. That's why he won't be Amorim. He ain't awake. He's on the way back up, but he's asleep. He passed out.
I've got to rush off, guys. Sorry to rush off.
Take care, mate.
Cheers,
bro.
Bye.
Big up. No, I was actually very, very bad with roller coasters growing up. I would go on 2 roller coasters and I'm done. I'd get lightheaded for the day and that's it. I couldn't, which sucked because I never had, people were scared of heights or whatever. It was never me. I just get nauseous and I'm done for the day. No, but I'll tell you why I said no. I think you'll appreciate my answer. My answer is very consistent to why I went Amorim out to begin with. I didn't go Amorim out based on just results. It was a combination of results and a lack of progression. a lot of people forget that I went into the season. I wouldn't say I went to the season Amorim In. I kind of like, I removed my hands basically after that Europa League final. I was like, whatever happens from here can go. But my standards were, or sorry, not my standards. My thoughts were going into the seasons like I don't generally judge managers without seeing at least one summer transfer window. And that's just a consistent thing that I give every manager. So it's not just Man United managers. I don't think it's a fair way to judge a manager on their job. I wanted to see him going into the season with some players and see what he could do with them. Right away early in the season, I didn't see some of the things that I expected he'd tweak in the way that he plays football with some of the players that he got. The biggest thing for me, and we argued over this a lot, is when he chose to not to sell Bruno and he basically asked them to stay rather than rebuilding the midfield. And that wasn't something against Bruno. It was more, I'm looking at him and I'm like, wait, you're not dying on your sword. You're just trying to be a little bit more cowardly and just try to keep a player rather than rebuild and do the thing that you wanted to do. I never went Amorim out based on the Grimsby result or the Brentford result or whether that. It was a combination of a lack of progression with atrocious results. And I was like, when you put all that together, there's no way you can defend this manager. 5 wins, as good as they sound, it wouldn't be enough for me because I don't do results-based analysis anyways. So if I don't do them when we lose, I can't do them when we win. If we go and win convincingly those 5 games and I see things that I haven't seen before, I'll be like, wait, hold on a minute. I've never seen him utilize his midfield this way. I haven't seen him utilize his striker this way. I haven't seen him utilize his wingbacks this way. I'll call out the things that he's done that I've consistently complained about. I'll be like, you know what? This is a man that's doing things that he was failing at, and now he's improved it. That is enough to warrant me to be any manager in. But if we go, and let's be honest, if we rely on like another De Ligt last-minute header or a Maguire header, or in a day we get fortunate and the other team, I don't know, get a red card and we get a penalty, these things to me don't hold like long-term value. So I'll be happy with the wins because it's a results-based business, but I wouldn't be like, oh my God, he turned the corner.
The only thing I disagree with what you said is how we win the games. I don't mind if we win the games with a last-minute header as long as we perform well in the game. Because you can perform well.
Yeah, but that's me assuming like we didn't perform well and we just needed a last-minute header.
No,
that's what I insinuated.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I hear your point. If we're awful, say we win 3 of those games like we did against Fulham last season where we're crap, but score a wonder goal to win it, I don't expect anyone changing their mind. I agree. If we're playing, but my view is this: to win all 5 of those games on the bounce, that would make us 10 games unbeaten. That would give us a 62% win percentage for the season. I guarantee if we win our next 5 games, due to the inconsistencies of others, we'll be sitting anywhere between 2nd and 4th in the league. I don't think we do that without the manager also doing a good job. I actually think it's impossible to do that without the manager doing some things right. But I'm a bit more in your camp. I mean, I'm not in or out. I'm sort of, if he goes, then he went. If he stays, I was very in the middle with it because my view was if this plan goes up in smoke, I've already lost faith in the next guy because I don't trust anything going on. And I'm very open about that. But I'm a bit more like you where win the next 5 games will be great and I'll celebrate it. But I still think my feet will be so firmly pushed into the ground. I'm not going to allow myself to get... When would I get carried away? I see a comment there. Maybe if we're 15 games unbeaten, won 7 or 8 on the bounce, had a couple more results and performances like away against Liverpool. Like you go away to Palace and beat them. We beat Newcastle. You know, maybe the next big game we play, we win that. Maybe then I'll start to go, hang on a minute now. We're 21 games, we're 20 odd games, 25 games into the season. We're 2nd in the league. You know, we've got 3 then maybe. But even then, I still don't know if I can allow myself as a United fan in an entirety of a season to get giddy because... And maybe that's a PTSD thing. I'm very open about it. I've had false hope so many times. I'll enjoy the moment, and I won't be a party pooper. But I won't allow myself to do we could win the league this year. Oh my God, we're completely back. We're going to maintain this level for the next 3, 4, 5 years. I don't think I can. I don't think I'll feel that way.
But the thing is, that's the right way to do it, in my personal opinion, because this is not like Arsenal PTSD. I know some Arsenal fans are still in that kind of mode of anything can collapse at any point, even though they had that 3 years of pure consistency challenging for the league. They're still in that point. That's not the same thing. That's different. What we're experiencing is it happened yesterday. It happened last week. It happened a couple of months ago. You know what I mean? We literally just off the back of that. So us being skeptical or a bit more grounded makes sense for the next 2-3 years until we got the proof of consistency. Then I think it's easier as Man United fans to be like, right, yeah, 2 signings, we can challenge the league. Oh, we're in a 5-game unbeaten run. It's going to lead us to
You're bang on, KJ. Too many Man United fans get too carried away too quickly, and everyone's entitled to support their club how they want. I just don't think that helps us. I don't think that helps. Forget whether it helps the club or not. Let's just park that conversation. I just feel like half the time when I see people crashing out online, it's because they've allowed themselves to get too far ahead of themselves. Oh, it's going to be amazing. You know, like some people do that thing. It's quite depressing. If you play the lottery and you start spending it before you've actually won it, and then you don't win, it's like, oh, that was shit, weren't it? Sometimes in life, just hold back a little. Viewers, please hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribing. This here says we are the definition of individual brilliance under Ruben. I remember we used that phrase under Ollie, even though we scored over 100 goals. Look, I wouldn't, again, we have been at times, there's no doubt, but I don't feel like our home wins this season have been individual brilliance. I feel Chelsea's a hard one to gauge because of the way we, the red cards. But I think Burnley, I think Sunderland at home. I think who's the other home game we played?
Sunderland.
Brighton. I thought we played well in those games. I think we had good play. I think we held on to the ball well. I think we created lots of chances. I wouldn't call it individual brilliance, but again, I want more individual brilliance, home and away. And that doesn't just mean screamers from the edge of the box and great dribbles. I'm talking about brilliant defending. I want brilliant midfield play. I want brilliant goalkeeping on a regular basis. Maybe we stand out as moments, FC, because our players don't consistently. You need to be delivering brilliance regularly in a game, consistently in a game.
And the reason why I don't like this whole individual brilliance argument is because every team, especially the teams that win the league, have individual brilliance nearly every week. You know, like it's a must.
Erling Haaland has 4 or 5 moments of individual brilliance generally per game. In terms of hold up play, a turn, a great run, a great finish. You need more of that, in my view. The team is where I had them at the start of the season with the squad we have. The expectation should be top 4. This squad is not 85 or 90%. Forget I add that bad. This squad is not 85% bad. Yeah, look, I suppose it's this. I understand people's expectations changing, but if you expected us to be 7th and now you're saying we've got to finish in the top 4, I would at least like you to explain why you now think we're better than a top 7, top 8 finish, just so we understand where you're coming from. Is United's win the next 5 games, irrespective of the performance? United Strand gets his haircut. So I'm Amorim In, and he gets till the end of the season minimum by default, as we will save a bloke's life.
He's saying if we do the next 5, he'll be Amorim In. To be fair enough, innit? All right, big up United Strand, man. I hope you're doing well.
That's not United Strand. That's not him.
No.
Right. Oh, okay. Okay. I hear you there. People forget Ruben could have gone versus Sunderland. Yeah, he could have done. It was, again, that's also why I'm not getting carried away. I think I don't care what the club says publicly. I think he was very close to losing his job. Very, very close to, and that's absolutely acceptable. Terry, did I see the news about the salary cap? Yes, I did. And I want to say to you as a City fan, if you notice that there's no red cartel on this, because both Man United and Man City are pushing back against it coming into play. So suddenly there's no red cartel. Like I've already told you guys a million times, clubs vote for what's best for them individually. There's no fucking cartels.
Terry, before we move on to Arsenal and stuff, there's Old Trafford TVs. I just want to speak to him for a sec. I'm a football fan. I'm meant to be carried away when my team wins games. You lot converted your support to analysis. That's a you problem, not mine. But Old Trafford, what are you like when you lose? Because if you're someone that when you win, you're super happy, and when you lose, you're like, okay, cool, on to the next one. You do your thing. I think that's cool. I think me and Terry are talking about the fans that are, when you win a couple of games, we're going to win the league. You lose a couple, we're the worst. We're going to get relegated.
I get carried away in the moment. I will have, when we beat Liverpool, I sat there on camera and drank a whole bottle of champagne at a party. But I didn't wake up the next day going, right, what are the odds on us winning the league? I think there's a difference in that. I think every football fan, I don't care where you sit in the pyramid of football, if a Wolves win their next game, their fans that night should celebrate in whichever way they might go out for a Chinese. They might go to the pub and have a few drinks. They might go for some shisha. They might go home and make a baby. But celebrate, have a good time. There's no issues with that. That is different from going, I think we're going to go on a run now and win the league, and convincing yourself of that with no evidence and then losing your mind a week later when we draw against a really good team. And I think that's all we're saying. I hope that makes sense. Now, I want to play you guys a video. Okay, there's a lot of talk about standard when it comes to Arsenal. I spoke with Potsy earlier, and you just, do you guys agree with this Arsenal take? Let's take a listen.
All right, let me ask you this. Would you rather win the Premier League or the Europa League?
I would rather win the Europa League. Because
then the Premier League.
I got it already. Give me something that I don't got. What's wrong with you lot? Do you have a Europa League title? No. Do you have a Premier League title? Yes. Give me the Europa League. At least I got something in Europe.
You're the only fan. You're the only Arsenal fan in the world.
You talked about standards, but what you really
Where are your standards?
Where
are your standards? Bro, this is not Pokemon. We don't got to catch them all. Like, what are we doing? Get the best trophy possible. The Premier League and the Champions League are here. The Europa League, Conference League, and then everything else everything else below that.
Yeah, Yard man. I'd rather win the Premier League, bro. Surely you'd rather win the Premier League.
Of course, everyone would. Every single Arsenal fan in the world.
What I'm saying to you, listen to what I'm saying. I see 3 Premier League titles in the cabinet. Yeah, I've got no Europa League title. Don't tell me for the new millennium. I have none. And if you're saying to me right now, I would rather take the Europa League because I don't have it.
Oh my God.
This, respect to Yard man, respect to 12th man. I mean, this is, I don't even know. I mean, Standard FC have lost their way. There's a few people on Standard FC I've heard in the last week talk about Carabao Cup being every bit as important. They're the same as a Champions League to them. It's a trophy. I just want to get your take on it, because I saw this today and I thought it was, I mean, I've got to say, fair play to Igal. It's maybe one of the best lines I've ever heard him come out with. It's not Pokemon. You haven't got to win them all. But did you ever think you'd see the day, Staffy, where somebody would rather win the Europa League than the Premier League?
There's so many angles that I want to attack this from. I just want you to imagine this. Imagine if the argument was flipped around. Igal wanted the Europa League and Yardman wanted the Premier League. I'm not trying to do the whole xenophobia thing, but that as there was people saying that match-going fans get it more than international fans or fans who watch at home. Yardman goes to games and he voluntarily opened his mouth and said, I'd rather win the Europa League than the Premier League. I'm meant to believe. Never bring that argument to me again, by the way, that match-going fans get it more than internet fans, international fans, whatever on the list is at. This is a match-going fan. That's number one. Number two, I'll be honest, bro. It's one of two things. It's either a show or it's just pure stupidity. And it's up to him to decide. There is no way. Let me put this like, let me make an analogy. Imagine like you went to the club, all right? You're single. You went to the club. The baddest bitch in the club. She was like, oh, like, I want to dance with you, da-da-da-da-da. You got her a drink. You had a night with her. 10 out of 10, smoking. A week later, you're like, you know what? I got a 10 last week. Today, I'm going to go for a 5 or a 6 or a 4. That is the same exact logic. The guy said, I won 3, which, by the way, that was over 20 years ago. So now he wants to go for the lesser trophy. Shout out to Igal. It is not Pokemon. You don't have to collect them all. Genuinely, there's no Real Madrid fan that wakes up and says, I'm trying to finish out the top 4 this year. Why? Well, I won too many Champions Leagues. I haven't won an Europa League since like the 70s, maybe. Can we please get out of the top 4 because I'm trying to win one?
No, you know, Arsenal probably don't have. They probably don't have a championship. You know what? Screw it. Let's get relegated. Get relegated.
Exactly.
Go win the championship because you've never seen a championship ever in your life. You've never seen 48 league games in your life.
You never aspire for less because you've never had less.
So do you know
if you're a millionaire, you're not going to be like, I want to give away my money because I haven't been broke in 20 years. Let me go and be broke. That is what the Europa League is. The Premier League,
this is why.
The Premier League, next to the Champions League, it's one of the premium trophies that you can win every year.
The
best teams do not compete in the Europa League. The Europa League is somewhat of a salvage. That's how I look at it. I wasn't good last year. I finished outside the top 4. I'm being placed in the second tier level of the European competitions as a punishment of how bad I was. If I win it, sure, that's a sign of progression. But if I don't, I was there for a reason. The best elite teams don't compete in the Europa League. It's not an indicator of anything anyways. For him to say that over the Premier League, I told you, it's either rage bait or this guy just doesn't have a clue.
Well, I'm going to just say a few things here. Like, players want to be in the EPL or in La Liga as their two main destinations because they know winning, being an integral player. And this is why I always push back on legacy arguments. Maybe Germany as well and Italy, they are big, but I still think deep down, maybe not for an Italian or for a German, but for people outside of that sphere, I think there is this element of people want to be in the biggest leagues because being integral in an Arsenal team or a Liverpool team or a Madrid team that wins those major trophies is massive. I think from my perspective, the first thing that came into my head was, can you imagine Yardman in the board meeting at Arsenal? They just clenched the Champions League. They win it this season. The most historic moment in their club's history. They win the pinnacle of European football for the first time. And they're sitting down and they're talking about parades and they're talking about the transfer window and statues and legacy and who they're inviting. And Yardman says, but before we forget, can we apply to Europe to not be re-entered into the Champions League next year? Let's go for Europa League and complete the set. That is something that would never, ever be uttered. But that's essentially what he'd be asking for. Because if he would rather a Europa League over a Premier League, I get he wouldn't want a Europa League over a Champions League because the Champions League is bigger than the Europa League and he hasn't got that either. But what is he saying? Once he wins the Champions League, he wouldn't want to be back in it to win it a second or a third or a fourth or a fifth time. And there's a couple of comments I want to bring up here. Dan's back. I want to bring these comments up first because I think they could be very true. Sol says he's not thinking straight. He's only thinking about banter. This is a distinct possibility because you know what, you get a lot on social media. You get a lot on, I don't know what's happening with Dan's computer. What you're getting a lot when it comes to social media at the moment is this, like Chelsea fans did it last year, buzzing, we completed the European set. And there is truth in that. The issue is, don't fall for the banter because every Chelsea fan who came on our match reaction, and I've got to respect every one of them, nearly every super chatter, and I'm not going to name all of you, but DJ, Blaze, we have Dyke, there's Daniel, so many fans. If he drops out again, just leave us in the same position, KJ, because all the movements make me feel a bit ill. They all came on and said, happy we won it, but I never, ever, 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 ever want to be in it again. Mm-hmm. So if you are falling for the banter of other clubs saying that we've won every single trophy, don't. This is the end of it for me. If someone said to me now, you're never going to win a Europa League again in the next 30 years, but you'll win 3 Champions Leagues in that time, or you'll win no Champions Leagues in the next 20 years, but you'll win 15 Europa Leagues, I'm picking the 3 Champions Leagues because they're the pinnacle. They're the absolute pinnacle of the game when you're at that level. Now, I know someone will go and tell me, you said football isn't only about winning trophies. It isn't. It isn't. There's loads of other elements to this game that are important. But if you're in a conversation about winning trophies, that is where we sit. The other comment is interesting. It's Yardman is setting up his argument for the possibility Arsenal win the Premier League. So he can say Arteta is still not good enough because he didn't win a European trophy. And I think there might be an element of truth in this as well, of the can being kicked down the road to go, yes, but we already have. All he's done is won us what we've won before. Where's the progression by winning us trophies we've never won? That could be the next argument for the Arteta outers. That is a great point.
It's getting a bit crazy now because wanting to be in the Europa League for someone who says standards are the most important makes no sense, because that means you have to then drop down your performance levels from now winning the Premier League to being a 6th place, 7th place team. So that goes against your standards. And then you have to start the process all over again of potentially winning it. And then if you don't win that, then you're like, oh, but we should be challenging for the Premier League because that's where we was before. We look how far we've fallen. We can't even win the Europa League now. So it just doesn't stack up of things that you want to do. It doesn't make no sense. And the whole thing of, oh, we need to complete the set, give me things I've never seen before. That only works if you're playing FM or if you're playing FIFA and you've got a team like Salford City and you take them from League 2 all the way up to the Premier League. You on the way, you collect every single trophy that you can win. That's a great story. But if we're going to be honest, at the elite sport, no one cares. Do you think Real Madrid cares that they've never won the Europa League? No. Look,
I agree.
The record number of Champions Leagues.
I agree. I do think there's a comment here as well. It says there's such a strong divide, all because of a Basque man. And I do think a lot of this is to do with Arteta, if I'm being honest. And I don't even mean this as a negative towards Mikel Arteta. I do think so much of that previous comment, I think, is so right along the lines of, is there because I've said it all along, haven't I? I've said it all along that the Arteta out debate won't end with him winning a major trophy. It'll be kicked down the road to, but it's only one major trophy in 6 years. I still don't think it will go away. I don't think all these Arteta outers will hold their hands up and go, we were just wrong. He is an elite manager. He's given us something great. Let's get behind it now to hopefully win more. It will be a case, and it's an interesting conversation to a certain degree, but I saw this, and listen, I've invited Yardman on the Football Terrace. I'd love to sit, just me and him, on one of these shows with the special straight facts. I want to understand his ideology. I want to have a conversation. I'd rather do it me and him, so there wasn't too many people jumping in, because it's not about trying to catch him out. It's not about ganging up on him. I'm so actually intrigued with the way his football mind works, in terms of, I won't celebrate games that where we're not winning trophies. I need to speak to him, because for me, it seems the opposite of the standards that people like himself push and promote, to want to win a second tier trophy over potentially consistently winning the top tier trophies. Just it doesn't compute with me as a football fan in the perspective of a trophy conversation.
What I'd want to ask Arteta outers is, what do you like about Arteta? And exclude, he hasn't won a trophy since the FA Cup. Exclude that, okay? Because we know you want trophies, right? Everyone wants trophies. Exclude that. Other than that, what is it about Arteta that don't they like? Because it sounds very personal. So it's kind of like, what has he done wrong, in your opinion, for you to hold this thing? Because if Ruben Amorim, like, listen, Staffy's there. I know, I'll use Staffy an example. If Ruben Amorim got us into title challenging year after year after year, playing decent enough football to get us into that position, I don't think Staffy would just be like, yeah, I just want him gone because X, Y, and Z. Like, that's what
comes down to that, KJ.
Yeah,
you exactly nailed on the head there. I think football has become, and I try to stay away from that, because sometimes I feel like I get sucked into it. It just becomes you said that, the opposite is happening right now. You were wrong, stay on that side. And I've faced it on both sides, because I was Amorim In, and while we were losing, people were like, stay on that side, don't go Amorim out now. And then when I was like, you know what, I think I've seen enough that I can make up with my own mind, outside of influence of everyone else, that I don't think is going to work out with this manager. Now I want him gone. Now you had the outers saying, no, stay in. And then when we won a couple games, people were like, don't celebrate these 3 wins in a row. You went Amorim out, stay on that side. So I was basically getting caught by both. And it just comes down to people not wanting to be wrong. I generally couldn't give a shit if someone thinks I was wrong on an opinion. I want nothing more than a manager who I think is not doing something to go the next game and be like, oh, you know what? The fans, you know how Arteta joked and said, oh, here's the handbrake, whatever it is, and then they start winning games. I'd love nothing more than that, than a manager say, I was doing this wrong. Look how I'm going to play the next few games. And they start doing everything we were criticizing for. I'll be so happy, because I'll be like, hold on. Now I don't actually have to replace you, because you stopped being stubborn. And now you're doing the things that you think will improve the team. Now we're happy. People are so caught up.
Look at the
characters, KJ. Like, everyone just looks at characters now online.
No, I agree.
Think, like, I can't be caught flip-flopping. I must be proven right. And if a manager does something that I said he doesn't do, I'm still going to find something else. And I think that's essentially what it is. They could win the Premier League, and Yardman is going to be like, but all these years we were in the Europa League, we didn't win one. We've never won one. Therefore, you still haven't completed what I want.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what's crazy, though? This is the maddest bit. And this is why I want to talk to him, because I haven't watched I've only seen the clip. I actually spoke to Potsy today for some context, but what I really want to ask him, and obviously Dan's with us now, and Dan was on with him, is, but to qualify for next season's Europa League, they'd have to probably they have to come 6th in the Premier League. Yep. So this would now be my question to Yardman. If you're watching it, Yardman, if you want to jump on, please jump on. My question is, your logic dictates that if you start losing games and drop into 6th place, you should therefore be happy, because it will give you the opportunity next season to win the trophy you want the most. I get the feeling if you start losing games, you're going to kick off and have a go at the manager. And that's the element that I'm calling out as I don't understand, because I feel that what you're essentially doing is you're burning the candle at both ends, and it's the case of whatever happens, I'm going to get to have a go at this manager. What was your view being on with him, Dan? Obviously, I know you obviously know more. You were there for the whole thing in the context, but is that one of the strangest sort of Arteta / Arsenal takes you've ever heard?
You're on mute, by the way.
I'll unmute him. It's fine. Go on, mate. Go on, it's done.
Terry, I think what you were saying, what you was just about to say, what you just said is that you would have to get worse. That's what I said to him. I said, Yardman, listen. In order for us to win that Europa League that you want for some reason, God knows why, we would have to get worse. I said, so if you want us, he's talking about Chelsea having the conference, the Europa League and the Champions League. He was like, they're the best ever in Europe. He was saying they're the kings of Europe. Well, I said, Real Madrid are the kings of Europe. Real Madrid do not care about the Conference Cup and they do not care about the Europa League, right? So I said to him, so you want Arsenal to get worse. So this season finish 6th, then and hopefully win the Europa League. The season after that finish 7th or 8th, so then we can go and win the Conference Cup. The conference, rather than winning the Premier League. He said he'd rather a Europa League than a Premier League. Now, for me, that he's an anomaly. There we go. Thank you, Staffy. He's the only Arsenal
English
fan.
Guy here, by the way.
Yeah, I think he's the only Arsenal fan in the world, I think, who thinks like that. Then maybe if there is anyone else, please come out. And it does come down to Arteta, because like you said again, Terry, it's not going to end if Arteta delivers the Premier League or the Champions League this year. Because I've spoken to people and I've said, look, okay, they always ask me, the question always is, if he doesn't win anything, does he have to go? So I turn it around and say, okay, what if he does win the Premier League? What if he wins the Premier League and the Champions League double? They say, I'll give him another year.
Another year?
Another year. Then they say, I said, is there any way you could change your mind? And they said, it was another Arsenal content creator. He said, if in 5 years he won like 3 in a row and a couple of Champions Leagues, then maybe I'd have to start to give him a chance. I'm thinking, hold on a minute. Exactly. This is what I'm saying. Like, obviously, it's all hypothetical, but they just have a problem. And I think a lot to do with it is him being a rookie manager, coming through, getting the job. You know, obviously Wenger wasn't backed. Arteta has been backed. But the strange thing is, you get a lot of these older fans that used to tell me at the end of Wenger's tenure that they missed the days of George Graham, where it was just about winning. You know, George Graham, they liked George Graham more than Arsene Wenger. I got it. That's their era. Wenger was my era. I grew up like, you know, when you're a kid and you grow to an adult and all of that. And and they all say they prefer George Graham. And now I hear them slagging off doing things that Arteta does that he's got from the George Graham book. Literally. Yeah,
it's very listen, I think what Staffy just said is spot on. And look, I'd love to speak to Yardman. There's no pile on. There's no horrible words. I'm not judging him as a man. I'm not judging him as a person. I'm just talking purely about his view of football. I just think if Arteta this year was to win a Premier League and Champions League double, for a club your size and where you've been at, that's statue levels. To go, you get one more year. And if you don't repeat it or you don't win a major trophy, you must go and somebody else comes in. There may be another manager in the world that's available, attainable and good enough to then get you back to winning. But wouldn't it also depend on what happens? What if the next year you missed out on the league title by a point and lost narrowly a Champions League final, but you're still one of the best teams in the world, the team was still playing well? It would make almost no sense, because you also now know what the argument that was always given by Arteta out was, I don't care how close we come, I don't think he could ever get us over the line. But then if he proves he can get you over the line, it goes against your original argument, which was, I don't care how close we come, he might not get us over. Well, you know he can get over now. And as long as you're playing well, there may not be the necessary need to get rid of him. And look, maybe so, yeah, it does feel a little bit much for me, but I'm not overly surprised. And Arteta out is a conversation, but I think a lot of fan bases are like this. I do think what Staffy said is so close to the truth. Some individuals have an opinion. They want to be proven right. And I just think some people will continue to kick the can down the road until the end of time. And how do I know this? Cristiano Ronaldo gets it. He'll be 40. He's 40 years old, turning 41. He can't do things now that he could do at 21. And I literally still see people go, I've been telling it his whole career, he ain't good at doing X. I'm like, bro, he's 41. You've waited like 24 years to be able to say he can't do that anymore. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happens with Mikel Arteta. I think he could become your greatest ever manager, and there'd be a subsection of Arsenal fans that would try and find a way to, but look how much money he got to spend, and if Wenger had this, but look if this, look if that. I just think they've made their minds up, and because it's public as well, I think some people, there is this element of, I can never let go. My concern for them, just a friendly concern, is, are you actually enjoying your football club anymore if you're so engrossed in it?
That way of fandom is the worst way to watch sports.
Exactly.
Oh my
Terry,
goodness. If you watch sports that way, just retire. It's not for you. Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
I had to make a video on it because of those Arsenal fans, right? We were top of the league by 6 points at this point and joint top of the Champions League. And instead of talking about the next game against Sunderland, how we were going to line up, whether we can win the league, or who our challenges were, or what tactics we're going to go in, there was none of that. It was how bad Arteta has been ruining our players, how bad we keep getting bad injuries, just all because of Arteta. It was just, all of it was negative. And look, David is the perfect example. He's starting to become positive. You joked earlier in this stream and called him Positive David, because Positive Dan was a name given to me because I was positive. I was only positive because my team, I feel like, are on the cusp of greatness. We're fighting for titles. We're going deep in the Champions League. And we're doing, in my lifetime as an adult, since I've been to the Emirates, we've never been this good. I was a kid, 14 years old, when we last won the Premier League. So for me, that's the reason why I'm positive. So like David is starting to become positive now because his team's doing better.
Until we can see the goal, and then he becomes negative.
Exactly.
Do you know what I would love to ask Yardman, and this is kind of why I'm featuring this, because I'd love to speak to him about this, because I love fan content, I love fan opinion. It's what I do, and I'm intrigued by it. But I want to know when he developed the standard, and I tell you as to why. Because I hear this a lot from there's standard FC at every club, but the Arsenal fans that push it, the one thought that comes into my mind is I often hear them talk about standards and levels that they've never achieved. So what I'm intrigued to know is, how were you attracted to a club that never, ever had been anywhere near the standards that your mind perceives as the right way to behave as a football club? So maybe you didn't have the standards when you picked them, which is fair, but what changed? What made you think that way? And I suppose my question also is, what made you love Arsenal if they never had the standard that you look for? Because if, for instance, the way Real Madrid behave on every level, you look at it and go, fucking love that, then why are you not a Madrid fan? Because it's the way they behave. If you like the way Burnley behave as a football club, their fans, their owners, the way they operate, maybe that should be your team. Maybe that's who you're in love with. Maybe we've got a situation here where some people, and maybe we've got to rewrite fan rules. Maybe a few people were forced into a few marriages with clubs they didn't want to be in. And their whole life, their dad made them an Arsenal fan, so they've got to stay one. But actually, their whole life, they love Crystal Palace, but they're not allowed to support them. Maybe we should create like an amnesty to go, do you just want to leave and support a different club? Maybe you're not really in love. And that's a little bit of a joke in there. But there's this element, I look at it and go, I hear Man United fans that do this. Streamers that are like, not a big fan of Fergie and his tactics, hate the class of 92, don't really rate Rooney, not big fans of Cristiano Ronaldo, hate hearing about the academy and DNA, no, fuck all about Busby and the Babes. And I sit there and go, hang on, the fuck reason you support us then? You go to, name me your top 50 players ever. There might be one United player on there. I'm like, hang on, what's going on? I've never known any, I'd listen to it and I go, I just don't think you picked United for any other reason. When were you born? Oh, 1995. Okay. Now I think I know why you picked them, because they were winning everything. And I know I'll get accused of that because of my age and being from London, but I love my football club. I love our history. I won't have a bad word said about Sir Alex Ferguson. I hear United fans, it's almost like there's nothing about the club they love, but they support it. That's what I'm confused by in the modern day fan space. It's kind of interesting to me.
For me, it's also like, how many clubs can say that a former player has come and made your team good? Like, if you look at most former players who come to manage their clubs, they don't really do well, or they only get so far. If he wins the Premier League with Arsenal, that is a story that most football fans would say that's what they would want. They'd want it to be a former player that wins the league. They'd want it to be like an academy product like Saka or Wanyeri, or someone being one of the main players in the team and winning the league. Like, all the things you would want in a football dream of winning, Arsenal are on the cusp of potentially having, and they're angry about it. I don't. For me, then I'm questioning, why do you like football? Like, why do you even like the sport? Like,
but that's what I already said,
like
KJ.
Sport, then what's the point?
It's more of obsession of people always want to be right. I'll tell you this. I really got disappointed when United went on these 4 games in a row where we won 3 and drew 1, and people spent a lot more time arguing about the manager rather than what happened during the games. Because you know me, no matter what my opinion is, you guys know me. I love to talk about tactics. People might call me a tactico, whatever it is. I just like to talk about the game. I found us more talking about the manager rather than the performances.
Yes.
And it pissed me off. And this is what happens to I thought I said on my stream, I was like, I feel like we're Arsenal of like 2019, 2020, when all you guys talked about every day was Arteta out. To make it worse, you guys still do that, but you guys have been competing for the league for the majority of the last 3 to 4 years. And every time I see an Arsenal clip from whatever channel, I still can't believe that every time I tune in, all I hear is Arteta in, Arteta out. You guys have been one of the most consistent teams. Fair enough, we make fun of you guys for finishing second, don't get me wrong, and not picking up any trophies. But like, if you ask me, banter aside, who's been one of the better teams over the last 3 years? I'd say without those trophies, you've still been one of the most consistent teams because you keep getting close to winning the trophy. The fact that every time I see a clip or I tune into a stream, and that's why I can't watch Arsenal content no more. I'm saying it right now. There's not a single Arsenal content creator that I watch, because every time I tune into a panel, it's all Arteta out, Arteta in, Arteta out, Arteta in. Wallahi, if we are in a title race, I promise you, I'd be the most unbearable person on YouTube, because I'd be sitting here talking about how great our team is. Even if bro, I'll put my balls on the line and we still won't win it, but I'll still, along the way, all I'm going to be talking about is how good I think my team is.
You would be me, Staffy. You'd be the Man United version of me.
But this is also why, though, Staffy.
I just want to do the cringe celebration.
I made a real big point when we won those 3 games on the bounce. I said it on the shows because I could see it in the comments, and I said, guys, I'm not going to be challenging, for instance, David. I am not going to be asking anybody if you changed your mind about Amorim yet, because it's not a talking point for the game. Equally, when we drew the 4th game, I didn't go, right, guys, are we doing Amorim out or in or out today? I think I got someone asking me this the other day about content in general. They were like, do you feel like algorithm's bad? Do you feel like views are down? I said, I think one of the reasons views are down for a lot of people is because they're bored of the same fucking conversations every day. You don't need to have an Amorim out, Amorim in, Amorim out conversation every day. You don't need to have an Arteta in or Arteta out conversation every day. You can speak about a game in isolation to that match. And I actually felt 2 of the best match reactions we've done on the terrace in years was the Arsenal game against Sunderland and was the Liverpool City game. Because at not one point, and in Liverpool's match, it could have happened with Slot, it was 95% about the match and the incidents. And I think we have to get back to sometimes just having micro conversations about something a journalist has said, or about a breaking news story, or about a transfer story, or, for instance, United are close to getting Baleba. We could just talk about Baleba, how good a player he is, what he could do for the team, rather than, but I still want the manager out. It's like, okay, it's not for now. And I think that there's so much of that going on in the content space. Forget your clubs. It makes it hard to have footballing conversations, and that's why we're all here. And I do agree. This here from Garrett says these are the Teta outers ruining our club. They are going to push out the person most responsible for us even being in the title race. Genuinely, fuck this type of fan. They'll laugh if he leaves and wins at City or Barca. They won't. Well, yeah, I hear you.
I would like to ask Yardman.
I'm grateful.
Is whose 3 years would you have? Man United's last 3 years, which is 2 trophies, but that's 3rd, 8th, and then 15th. And you lose 2. You remember we lose 2 finals in that period as well. Or Arsenal's 3 years of finishing second 3 years in a row.
But you know what the answer is going to be, KJ, and it's hypocritical anyways. They're going to say ours because we won the cups, but I'll tell you what, and Terry actually said it on Troops' stream. I caught that bit. He said, but you guys were winning FA Cups when you were going to games saying Arsene Wenger out. You didn't go all these years just to say if we win the FA Cups with Arteta,
Yeah,
we wouldn't be Arteta.
and what were they doing
It's a
in the
lot.
summer?
Yeah.
They were bantering us in the summer. Everyone was bantering Man
Finishing
United.
fourth every
Exactly.
year.
No one said,
They
"Oh,
would
but
make
guys."
Champions League every year,
and
finishing fourth, and
and
they
that's
still
why,
wanted.
and that's why I want to know. That's why I want to know where the standards have come from, because
It's all
the
an
same
actor.
the standards I hear being pushed now were not the same things being said. And people can change their views, and that's fine. But what I want to understand and question, not to say you're wrong, I want to dig a bit to. When did you start thinking and feeling this way? When did you start believing these things? Because I can tell you when I changed my mind about things. Terry used to say Arteta out. Yeah, the first couple of years, I did not see for the life of me him turning you into a competitive team because of all the losses and defeats. But what I didn't know about Arsenal, because I'm not an Arsenal fan, is all the work going on behind the scenes. And then going into, I think it was his second full season, you started seeing the improvements. I then started doing what I was advised to do by a gal, actually. Reading more, read this blog, read this person, listen to this podcast. And then I educated myself more on Arsenal and went, hang on, maybe I can see a little something here that I didn't know before. I can pinpoint when I started to change my mind and why. Then the results started changing. Then I saw him in the summer of 2022 and fucking hell, they've turned it around. Well, the one thing I find interesting about standards FC people at all clubs is they get very annoyed when you ask them when they started thinking this way, which feeds into the potential. I'm not making an accusation, but it feeds into the potential that it's performative. And in terms of what we do, in terms of having conversations about football, I just want to dig into it a little bit more because I'm so intrigued by the mindset. I don't even think it's necessary. It's wrong in the sense of I don't feel that way. If you want to support your club in that way, more power to you. I'm not saying you shouldn't have a YouTube channel. I'm not saying you shouldn't be allowed to say it. So let me just preface that for all the toaster people. But I want to learn about it more because I am so intrigued by how and why people think and feel that way.
Terry, I can tell you when it started though. It was that season you said, the season you realised that he was a good manager and we'd switch things up 2022-23 when we were 8 points ahead. But City had a game in hand and we still had to play them twice, by the way. Everyone likes to say we were 8 points ahead. Anyway, with the youngest team in the Premier League, once we didn't win that title, and obviously the media called it bottling and all of that, that was it. The next season, even when we were in the title race, our own fans were going, we're not going to do it, we're not going to do it, we're not going to do it. And in the end, they were right. We didn't do it. But that is when it changed. Because Dan, who I share my show with, I met him. And the reason why we started doing our channel was because we used to argue all the time about Arteta. And I said, wait, so did you not back him? Like, when did you ever back him? Because we met the season 23-24 season. So I said to him, did you ever back him? He said, of course I did. Last year I was right behind him. I was singing Mikel Arteta songs. I said, what changed? He said, well, he didn't get us over the line. And I said, and then that was it. And I think that they can't.
I don't put negative down into the same category as a lot of other Arteta.
No way.
He's so much more balanced. Look, viewers, I want to thank a lot of you for tuning in. It means a great deal to us that you're all here today. We'll be back tomorrow. I don't know what content I'm doing tomorrow, but we'll be doing something. Please go check out my personal channel on Terry Fleurs TV by scanning that QR code below that beautiful little thumbnail of myself, as you can see. Beautiful little face you can see there. Staffy, thank you for joining us. Positive Dan, good to see you again, mate. KJ, the General, thank you very much for being here. And of course, David was on with us earlier as well. Big up, my friend. I want to thank the super chatters, everyone who's liked, shared, and subscribed to the channel. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon.